2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, I did the first guide to material gathering, which covered raw materials. So a quick recap is, if you're going after raw materials, there's really only two ways of doing it. You can go mining asteroids and pick up, whatever raw materials are extracted that way, including the 3 that you can only get that way. Or you can take your SRV and go driving around the planet's surface and pick up whatever you find that way. Now, there are other ways of gathering raw materials. Well, I'm not showing you all of them in this. There are aspects of the game that you'll want to discover yourself. So I'm not going to just hand it all on a plate sort of thing. I'm just going to cover the basics to sort of get you started. But raw materials are not the only materials in the game, and you are going to need some of the other 2 types. They are manufactured materials, which is by a distance the largest material type. There are far more of those than the other 2. In fact, there's more manufactured than the other 2 put together. And the third type is encoded. Now, I said in the last video that getting the raw materials is the easiest of the lot. And it is, because there are effectively only 2 ways of doing it. Even if you discover any of the other ways of getting raw materials that I haven't told you, they do pretty much boil down to the same thing. Jump in your SRV and off you go. But with manufactured and encoded materials, it's a different matter. There are several different ways of getting them, and they are all somewhat different from each other. So let's get this show on the road, shall we? So we will start then with how to gather manufactured materials. Okay, we'll make it how to gather encoded materials then. We are in Diaguandri, and the reason we're here is because there is a material trader here, and he deals in encoded materials. Now, I am currently maxed out on all the encoded materials that you will see here. However, the encoded material trader does not trade in all the encoded materials you can get. There are some encoders that you get from either Guardian sites or from Thargoids. And although they are still classed as encoded, they are really Xeno encoded materials, and there isn't a trader for them. The code for a Xeno material trader is in the game. I know this because during the beta, when the material traders were going to be added, if you visited any of them, they all came up as Xeno material trader, regardless of what they were actually trading. Good going. So, unlike the raw materials, there are 5 classes of encodeds. Class 1s, you can have up to 300. Class 2, up to 250. Class 3, up to 200. Class 4, up to 150. Class 5, up to 100 of them. And as far as the different types, it's much more specific. It's not just group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 like it was with the raws. So with these, this first group here then is emission data. Collecting emission data, not the most complicated of procedures. We'll cover that in a sec. Wake scans is the next one. Now, wake scans, there's a bit of a clue in the name as to how you get those. But believe it or not, there are people out there who do need it to be explained to them. So I will demonstrate how you do it. Really, when you're going after wake scans, everyone prioritises data mined wake exceptions. You need those if you want grade 5 frameshift drive range boost. And let's face it, when people are engineering their frameshift drive, that is the only one they do. So yeah, you will want those up to grade 5. So everyone always prioritises data mined wake exceptions. Thing is, of course, you've got to get your FSD up from unmodded through grades 1, 2, 3 and 4 to get the 5. So you do need all of them. You don't want to just go after data mined wake exceptions. Obviously this is like, you could almost say these are like the holy grail of encoded materials. This is one everyone wants, but don't discard the others. You will need them. Next one is shield data. Now with shield data, they are gathered in exactly the same way as emission data. So as I say, either that will be demonstrated in a sec. After that, encryption files. These you have to get from planet surfaces. Yeah, I'll demonstrate that after I've done the others. Data archives. I've got to be honest, I keep forgetting. I think these are obtained the same way as shield data and emission data. But I do keep forgetting about that one. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they are gathered the same way. And then encoded firmware, these are gathered the same way as encryption files from surface. Yeah, you have to be in your SRV to get these. Cancel that. The one exception is modified embedded firmware. I can't remember the last time I got modified embedded firmware from gathering from a surface point. But you get plenty of missions on the mission board which offer modified embedded firmware as a reward. And if you're after materials, it's often a good idea to grab modified embedded firmware as a mission reward, because of course you can always trade it, and especially if you're after any of these other encoded firmware things. So for example, if you want specialized legacy firmware, you can trade one of your modified embedded firmware for 81 of these specialized legacy firmware materials here. It's a bit of an extreme example. I think it is an unbelievably stupid idea to trade a grade 5 down to a grade 1. If you're having trouble finding grade 1 encoded materials, you're doing something wrong. The most sought after are these two: modified consumer firmware and cracked industrial firmware. They are used in an awful lot of mods. Thankfully, they are not that difficult to find if you know where to look. I may well show you where that is. The other two particularly useful ones are in the encryption files. Atypical encryption archives and adaptive encryptors capture. Again, there are some engineering upgrades that use them, not a hell of a lot, but they are there. These are best used as trading to get, you know, data mined weight exceptions, for example. So you know, you get 6 adaptive encryptors capture, and there you go, you've got trade that in for a data mined weight exception. These, again, if you know where to look, they're fucking easy to get. Fucking hell. And yeah, it means you could actually fill up your storage of adaptive encryptors in particular in next to no time. So it's a good way of being able to get any encoding material that you want. Just fill up with these, come to an encoded material trader, just trade the lot for what you really need. So, okay, how do you go about getting them? Well, let's start with the 3 groups that I've already forgotten the fucking names of. So, emission data, shield data, and data archives. These 3 are all got by doing exactly the same thing. So, what we'll do is we'll launch from here. While we're launching, we'll get the process underway. So you can see there I can target a ship that's in front. So what we'll do, we'll target it, so the basic scan starts. Then when once the basic scan is finished, that's it. That is all you need to do. Nothing more than that. Now, granted, you are not going to get them from every single ship. I didn't get any from that one. But once the basic scan is done, if there are any encoding materials that you can get from there, you'll get a notification in the section where it's currently showing signals detected, notable signals. You'll get a notification there. It'll tell you what you've got. And, you know, boss, that is it. And I really do mean that is it. That is all you need to do. So, like 50% of the encoding materials that you can get in the game are really not hard to find at all. Now, there is obviously a bit of luck as to what kind you get. If you want a grade 5, I find that scanning ships like belugas in particular, Type 9s, occasionally orcas, they'll give you, you know, if they have any encoded, they'll give you some of the rarer ones. Peculiar shield frequencies or whatever it's fucking called, that's 1. That's a grade 5. I find belugas are a particularly good source for those. Yeah, but it really is as simple as that. That really is all you need to do. So there you go, that's half the encoding materials already covered. So the next one then is the wake scans group, and as I said, there's a bit of a clue in the name as to how to get them. Well, let's do a demonstration. So we'll do a basic scan of this adder. There you go. So he did have some, but of course I'm full up, so I couldn't store it. He's now buggered off and left a wake behind. Now I've got a wake scanner, and you do need one for this. So we scan it. I'm used to having my wake scanner modded. God, this is slow without the modding. Right, now if there is any wake scan encoding materials, once the scan is done, you'll get the same notification. It'll tell you what you've got, and that is it. Again, that is all you need to do. So getting encoding materials for the vast majority of the time really is not difficult at all. So let's scan another one, and oh, that's too far away, can't be asked. This used to be a bit of an old trick for getting wake scans, is to just hang around outside a docking station and just scan all of the wakes as the ship's hyperspace away. It has to be a high energy FSD wake. If it's a low energy, you can't scan it. The primary use of a wake scanner is to tell you where that ship has gone. So that's why in brackets there, Umbela, that's the system it has gone to. If we look in the contacts, so there's this one here. This is someone I scanned. That must be that orca that I scanned earlier. It is handy if you can do a basic scan, so you know which ship is left, has left this particular wake. So we'll scan this. Right, so again, there isn't anything there. I'm not having a hell of a lot of luck. This is the drawback with doing this old method of hanging around outside there, and hanging around outside the docking station, waiting for ships to hyperspace away. So we'll see about this one. Yeah, you do spend an awful lot of time scanning stuff and getting nothing. So scan him, see what we get here. There we go. So it says unable to receive data because I'm maxed out on them. But there is one there. Now, let's say, for example, that would have given me data mined wake exceptions, you know, the grade 5, the holy grail that everyone wants. And you would then get a lot of players saying, oh great, I've got one, and just like the raws, you scan one of those and get it up, it actually adds 3 to your inventory, so you'll have 3 data mined wake scans as a result. But you'd be thinking, right, I got this one. Now I've got to hang around here for ages and hope that I can get some more. Well, this is why doing the basic scan, so you know the ship name and you know like the NPC pilot who's flying it, is so important, because you've scanned this and you know that scanning that wake will always give you data mined wake exceptions. You also are told the name of the pilot, you know what type of ship he was in because you did the basic scan, and you are being told right here where he is. How difficult is it to think, hang on, let's just go there and follow him? But you would be amazed at the number of players where that never occurs to them. So as soon as you find one, so make sure you get the basic scan done first, so you know the pilot name, you know what ship to look for. As soon as you've then done the scan, you've got data mined wake exceptions, you're thinking, right, okay, I know a ship that will get them every time he jumps into a high wake, every time he hyperspaces to another system. And you've got the name of the system where he currently is, just follow him. And every time he hyperspaces to another system, A, you'll get another 3 data mined wake exceptions, and B, you know where he's gone. So just follow him to the next system, and the next one, and the next one, and just keep on following him until you've got as many as you deem necessary. And you can do that with any wake scan data type. You don't have to just leave it with data mined wake exceptions. But obviously with those, if you get an absolute shitload of them, you can then trade them down and you can then be absolutely certain that you'll be able to mod your frameshift drive as high as you possibly can. So yeah, very easy. So that is 4 of the various encoding materials groups taken care of. But there is the last 2, which you need to get in an SRV. So we shall do a jump cut, and we'll be back when we are approaching a suitable planet. Alright, so we are in one of the Hipparcos systems, Pt.2. And anyone who's played this game for a little bit will know exactly why we're here. So if you are after... go to the encoders. So yeah, if you're after the adaptive encryptors capture, or the atypical encryption archives, the 2 that I highlighted at the start, or cracked industrial firmware, or modified consumer firmware here, this is the place to come. So we are heading towards the planet, or the moon I should say, 1B. You will see here Jameson crash site. But this gas giant has 2 moons. I highly recommend mapping both of them, because as well as the crash site on this one, on the moon 1A there's also something quite interesting. I won't tell you what, but that's something for you to discover. Okay, this is 1A, so no, it is 1B. Yeah. So yeah, you will want to scan or map 1B and 1A. One word of advice though is if you're coming here, don't bring a large ship. Bring a medium. Yeah, the largest ship you want to come to is a medium. This system is always absolutely swarming with fucking fleet carriers. Someone's called his ship Nostromo. How fucking original.
Orbital flight engaged.
Right, this area is nearly always in total darkness. Even when it is lit up, it's still pretty fucking dark here, so yeah, you'll be using the night vision, that's for sure. Yeah, this is why you want to take nothing larger than a medium ship. The terrain around here is not particularly smooth. So finding somewhere to land, not simple. But nevertheless, we've made it. So let's jump into the old SRV.
Assist. Cargo scoop.
Actually, I don't need to deploy the cargo scoop.
Low gravity warning.
Okay, so if we follow the scans, there we go. So there is the crashed ship. This is the ship from First Encounters. So it's an old Cobra. If you played First Encounters, you'll know what I'm referring to. So, you approach it, you'll see an awful lot of signals appearing on the sensors. And if we look in the contacts, we have the Cobra Mark III. We have 3 comms controls. There's actually a 4th, and there's even some canisters if you want to grab some stuff to sell, if you want to grab any salvage. Now what I usually do, but I'm not going to do it this time because I don't need to, I get myself quite centralised so that all 4 of the comms controls are, basically they all surround me. I don't need to move to be able to scan each one of them. I'm not going to do that for here. So here we go then. Right, this is one of the comms controls. So you just scan it with your data link scanner. And of course it says unable to receive data because I'm maxed out on it all. But from these 4, you will get those 4 encoded materials that I mentioned while we were heading towards this planet. And trust me, it takes no time at all to max yourself on the 100 adaptive encryptors capture, which is a grade 5. So you can use that to trade for anything. So it is absolutely worth doing. And what I do, so you can also get atypical encryption archives here. You only need 150 of those and then you're maxed. And then you'll get cracked industrial firmware and the modified consumer firmware. Don't get these two mixed up. Modified embedded firmware is a grade 5. Modified consumer firmware is a grade 2. And yeah, it's the grade 2 you get here. So what I do, I just scan all 4 and I just then say to the main menu and reload the game, reload the instance and scan all 4 again, and just keep on repeating that over and over until you're either maxed out or you're bored shitless and you want to piss off and do something else. You also notice that when I scanned it, I got these discovered logs here. There's actually audio logs, so you can actually play that back and you'll hear what is said. I'm not going to play it now. I've picked them up fuck knows how many times. They do get saved. They are saved in your codex under archive, and I've got to remember whereabouts it's saved to. I think it's under Thargoid. There you go. Yeah, Commander's Log, John Jameson. That's it. So you scan all 4 of the comms controls and you'll get all four parts of the logs. The fifth part is if you scan the actual Cobra wreckage itself. And it's as simple as that. So this is a great place to come for those four materials. Easy to get to, easy to max out on the materials that are available here. You can only get those four materials here. There are no other encoded materials available here. And they are sort of randomised. You never know which ones you're going to get, but you do know it'll be at least one of those four. Sometimes you can get as many as 2, 3, even 4 encodeds from each thing that you scan. Yeah, it doesn't take long at all. Very easy to do. So that is one surface type. One way of getting encodeds from a surface signal. Some argue that it is a bit of an exploit. I don't agree. It's not an exploit. It's not like you're cheating. You are playing the game as it is, coded. But if you fancy a slightly different way, and you want to go somewhere where it's not just one place in one system, and the possibilities of actually finding somewhere at random or by luck or whatever are a bit higher, then there are plenty of other places to go. So I'll show you one of those. So we'll do another jump cut, and we'll be back when we are approaching one such place. Right, so we are now in a system Hyades Sector DR-V C2-23, a name that really does roll off the tongue. But if you thought that Hipparchos 12099 was worth bookmarking, it is nothing compared to this place. This is a system you absolutely want to come to. Specifically, the planet A5, which is where we're heading to. Map that planet. If you haven't already done so, map it now. Because on this planet, Dav's Hope. Now, anyone who has played this game before and has played it for a little while knows all about Dav's Hope. A lot of people hate it, again whining that it's an exploit. No, it isn't. And this is an absolute fucking haven for not so much encoded materials, although you can get encoded materials here, and for this part of the video anyway, this is why we're coming here. But it is also an absolute haven for manufactured materials, and believe me, we'll be covering this when we go on to manufactured. So the planet's quite slow, so you need, quite small. So you need to, you need to approach it quite carefully. Make sure you don't overshoot it. You can always tell straight away if Dav's Hope, or if you're approaching Dav's Hope properly, because it's right next to that enormous fucking mountain range there. So Dav's Hope is basically an abandoned mining complex, and just as you did with the Jameson Cobra crash site, there are 4 like signals that you can scan. And it tells you the story of why Dav's Hope has been abandoned and what happened while they were trying to abandon it. And all I can say is that yeah, capitalism really hasn't changed all that much. So yeah. You can see there's a couple of ships here. You can ignore them completely. They are, you know, looks like one's a sidewinder. Can't see what the other one is. I think it's an adder. Might be a hauler. But yeah, you get you know, ships, you know, flying around in a circle, orbiting. Well, not orbiting as such, but yeah, flying around Dav's Hope. They won't attack you. Even if they did, they're never, you know, they're never a threat of any kind. Landing here is no problem. It's nice and flat. So let's go and take a look.
Drive assist.
Now, as I say, for the purposes of this part of the video, we're only interested in the encoded materials, and yeah, the part where you get them from, it's very close by. There it is, this data point. Now, when you select a data point, and these things crop up all over the place. This is where every surface settlement of any kind will have one. And you can get encoded materials from all of them. But there is a bit of a risk attached a lot of the times. If you look at the, you look in the bottom left, the info panel, it says there, data point brackets active. And underneath it, it says public. Now, public ones are fine. If we, oh, I'm not far enough away from this ship yet. Now I am. Right, so we activate the turret so I can target it. It is already targeted. So we'll scan that with the data link scanner. There we go. Now, again, I can't receive data because I'm maxed out on everything. But once you've scanned it, you will get the data there. You will also get a data point intel. It's random as to who it's for. It will be either the Empire or the Alliance. This is a Federation system, so it will not be for the Federation. You will have to travel somewhere, either to an Imperial or an Alliance system, to hand those in. So you get bonus credits as well. But these, yeah, so these data points, other planetary services, they are other planetary surface locations where you can get yeah, encoding materials. And that is not all of the ways of getting them, but that is the majority ways of getting them. If you do those, no, all of those things, basic scans of any ship you encounter, frame shift weight scans, scanning planetary surface data points, that, you know, doing those 3 ways, you can then get all the different types of tradable encoded materials. The Xeno ones, no, you have to go to either Guardian or Thargoid locations to get those, but they're not important really. There's not a lot of stuff that uses them. Well, certainly not the Thargoid stuff. The Guardian stuff, yes, they are useful. I'll cover those in another guide, which is specifically about Guardian sites. I don't know when I'll be doing it, but yeah, that will be one. So there we go. That is the basics. I'll tell you one other way, but I won't show you it. Although I did do a video a while back where I did do that, and that is hacking megaships You can get quite a lot of encoding materials from hacking megaships. But the methods I've shown you here, you can get all the different kinds that you can trade at material traders. So this way, even if you don't get the particular material that you want, you can either just keep on trying, or you can take what you've got, go to a material trader and trade it in for what you particularly want. So there we go, that is Encoded Materials. We'll go back to the ship. And yeah, there we go. So next, I'm going to make my way to another docking station, and then we'll go through the big one. Yep, manufactured materials. And that method, well, actually getting manufactured materials, again, there's not a huge number of different ways of doing it. There is like then subgroups. It starts to, actually it sounds more complicated than it is. But anyway, we'll do a jump cut here, and yeah, we'll then start covering the manufactureds. Right, manufactured materials. This is where I almost wish I hadn't started this, because it's almost impossible to avoid making this sound far more complicated than it actually is. So, okay, I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. It is only meant to be a simple guide, so let's give it a go. So this system we're in, what is it, Newcomer, and we're at the Tesla terminal, and there's a material trader here, and would you believe it, he trades manufactured materials, and he's a she, but there you go. Now there are far more manufactured materials than any other, but there's more manufactured than there are raw and encoded combined. And once again, I am maxed out on all of them, and indeed, like the encodeds, there are also manufactured materials that do not appear in a manufactured material traders list, because they are Xeno based, so you only get those from there. I think that was from a Klingon. But in this game, you only get them from Guardians or Thargoids. Now, if you've seen my videos where I was at the Thargoid Barnacle site, or when I was showing my Thargoid Scout attack ship, you will see where to get the manufactured materials from Thargoids. I think I've already mentioned this, but I will do a guide to Guardian sites, and yeah, there I'll show you how to get the Guardian manufactured materials. But I'm maxed on all of those as well when it comes to manufactured. I really am maxed out on the lot, including the Xeno ones. So it does somewhat hamper how how to gather them, I suppose. But I'll find a way of fighting through it. So, just like the encodeds, you have the 5 different grades: grade 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you can have the same, maxed amounts as you could with the encodeds. So 300 grade 1, 250 grade 2, 200 grade 3, 150 grade 4s, 100 grade 5s. I guess I should also point out, because I have a horrible feeling someone is going to ask, no, you cannot trade a manufactured for an encoded or for a raw. Or you can only trade manufactured for manufactured, raw for raw, encoded for encoded. Right. Now, to begin with, it does seem to be somewhat simple, because the easiest way by far to get any of these is to do exactly the same thing. Okay, so whether you're going after chemical, thermic, heat, conductive, mechanical components, capacitors, shielding, composite, crystals or alloys, you do the same thing. So that makes it sound like it's fairly simple. Unfortunately, it's not quite as clear cut as that. And we can't really show the variations by looking at the manufactured or looking at the material traders here. This is just giving you an idea of just how many there are, what kinds there are, and what sort of if you're going to be doing trades, what sort of like exchange rates you're going to get, and so on. But if you want to know like the fine details of where exactly to get them, you need to check in your materials inventory. Now the problem is that if you have not discovered or collected any of a particular type of material, it doesn't appear in the inventory. It doesn't even show up as, say for example, basic conductors that I've got highlighted here. If you haven't got any and you've never found any and never picked it up, that just doesn't show up. It doesn't say 0 of 300, it's just not there at all. So you can't really check where to find them. But if you select it, you get a bit of a, you get some information here. So basic conductors, a very common manufactured material, and shock horror, the basic conductors are a conductor. So this is a component found in ships, frequently used by haulage vessels. Destroyed haulage vessels can be scavenged from the aftermath of combat in shipping lanes, and it's known to be salvaged from signal sources. And then it tells you what basic conductors do, as if you really need to be told that. But more importantly is next to it here. So we have locations found at settlements. I've already been to one settlement that you can get these from, Dab's Hope. Dab's Hope, although I showed it to you in as a place to get encoded, that is not the main reason for going there, not at all. You go there for manufactured, and I'll show you what that's about a bit later on. So, found at settlements, shipwrecks or mission rewards. It's a bit of a generalised description actually, I think they all say that. I've never seen basic conductors offered as ship rewards, or mission rewards rather. Then it goes on, it can be traded at manufactured material traders in high security populated industrial economies, and then underneath that its known uses. I'll go through like the uses for all of these materials that you're picking up in the third and final part of this. So we'll skip biomechanical conduits because they are one of the Xeno ones. So biotech conductors, so here again, used by factions as a reward for mission contracts. And this is a very rare manufactured material, grade 5. So this is another conductor, as if the fucking name of the stuff didn't already tell you that. But yes, these are never dropped by anything. If you want these, you get them as mission rewards. That's it. That's the only way you can get biotech conductors. It does mean that firstly, you often get a pretty hefty amount of credits along with your biotech conductors, and it's not difficult to max them out. So as far as locations, again, see that same generic description: found at settlements, shipwrecks, or mission rewards. Well, found at settlements? No, it's not. Shipwrecks? No, it's not. Mission rewards? Yes, that's the only place. And it says this material is used by engineers when building upgrades, but it doesn't tell you what it's used for. There are a couple of engineering mods that do use it. Not many. The vast majority of people, and I'm certainly one of them, get this purely to trade for more useful materials. I have used it in some engineering, but I'm fucked if I can remember what. So yeah, again, it's very basic info that it gives. So we'll check chemical manipulator. So this one again, component found in ships, frequently used by haulage vessels. Destroyed haulage vessels can be scavenged in the aftermath of combat, blah blah blah. So this is exactly the same description as the basic conductors. Now, the key, there's some key information in that description. It's frequently used by haulage vessels. Well, the haulage vessels in this game are Type 9s, Type 7s, Type 6s, the Hauler, Shock Horror, and to a lesser degree, the Adder. Now, the higher the grade, so this is a grade 4, it's quite a high grade 1. Or high grade material, I should say. It's not a grade 1, you know what I mean. Okay, now I'm making this even more complicated than I thought. The fact that it's a grade 4 means you're not going to get it from either a hauler or an adder. They are very small, very simple ships, easy to destroy. So if you're after these, you need to go after Type 9s, Type 7s. You might get them from a Type 6. I also forgot the killback. You may get them from those as well. But then you got to ask yourself, right, do I therefore go and attack haulage vessels even though they're clean just to get the materials, which means because you will be wanted and you'll have a bounty? Or do you wait for wanted Type 9s, Type 7s? They're out there. They're not hugely common, but they're out there. So you need to decide how you want to go about getting them. Especially when it comes to getting materials from haulage vessels. If we go on to chemical processors, no, that's haulage vessels again. Well, let's look for one. Right, conductive polymers. That says haulage vessels as well. Okay, conductive components. Fuck me, can I find one that's not from fucking haulage vessels? That's chemical arrays. Right, here we go. So this one, component found in ships, frequently used by military and authority vessels, known to be salvaged from signal sources in anarchy systems. I've never found them from a signal source in an anarchy system. Now, materials that come from military and authority vessels, well, I mean, you can go around blasting authority ships if you really want to, but your notoriety is going to shoot up. You're going to be wanted just about everywhere, especially if you're doing it in more than one system. And you're going to have a bounty, a quite sizable bounty on your head. So, You can do it if you want to. I don't recommend it. But, you know, if that's how you want to play the game, go ahead. I personally would rather get them from military ships. And where's the best place to find military ships? Conflict zones. So if you're after a material and the description says that it is frequently used by military ships, it's conflict zones. That's where you want to go to pick those up. Known uses here, it says the flechette launcher munitions. It is used for far more than that. I go through electrochemical arrays like fuck knows what. Just about, well, not every engineering mod I do uses them, but a hell of a lot of them do. So, yeah, ignore that known uses flechette launcher munitions. It's used in a lot more than that. And, yeah, this is one material you really want to have plenty of. Right, so this next one, exquisite focus crystals. So this is a very rare one, a grade 5. It says here again, used by factions as a reward for mission contracts, which is true. You get an awful lot of missions where, you know, one of the options is to, you know, receive exquisite focus crystals as a reward for completing them. You do also get credits as well, so yeah, it's not bad. But these do crop up when you destroy ships. But very specific ones. Anacondas. Definitely anaconda. I've seen quite a few actually dropped by anacondas once you destroyed those. Type 10s will occasionally drop them. I don't know about corvettes. I've put it this way, I've never seen a corvette drop one. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened. It's just that, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen in the game. It just hasn't happened to me yet. And same with Imperial cutters. I assume because you can get them from anacondas and Type 10s, you probably can also get them from corvettes and cutters, but I've never seen those two ships drop them. So yeah, you can get those as, you know, after destroying ships. Not in conflict zones though. You'll want to go elsewhere and take out any of those ships. Preferably ones that are wanted. Right, there's a few more that I particularly wanted to show. There's one back here. There you go. Core Dynamics Composites. Advanced component found in Federal Systems. So this is one of 2 grade 5s which you will only find in systems that are ruled by a particular faction. So if you want Core Dynamics Composites, you've got to go to a Federal system. If you go to Alliance, Imperial or Independent, they will not spawn there, ever. There is an Imperial equivalent, and that is Imperial Shielding. If you want those, you've got to go to an Imperial system. They will not appear anywhere else. So that's something to consider. There are rare exceptions. Again, Core Dynamics Composites and Imperial Shielding will be dropped by Anacondas and Type 10s. And that could be anywhere. So, yeah. But if you want to find them in decent numbers, yeah, you want to head to the faction-specific system. Now, if we just bring up the material trader again, the grade 5s are, to put it mildly, a bit of a fucking pain in the arse, because even if you do destroy a ship that will drop them, it's very, very rare that they will drop 2, and they never drop more than 2. They're rare enough actually just dropping 1. There is no guarantee that if you destroy, a large ship, it will drop a grade 5. No guarantee of that. Plenty of times where I've destroyed a type, an Anaconda, a Type 10, a Corvette, or a cutter, and none of them have dropped any grade 5s at all. So although you can get them from destroying any of those any of the big 4 ships, don't rely on it, because you are likely to end up getting frustrated. So, and that applies to all grade 5s. So with the grade 5s, you've got 2 options. With exquisite focus crystals and biotech conductors, as I've already said, mission rewards. Personally, I would say that if you're doing a mission and one of the reward options will pay you in either of those 2 materials, take it every time, unless you're maxed out on them. Then that way, as with everything else, you can trade them for whatever you need. Now with the biotech conductors, all of these conductives, but particularly conductive polymers, ceramics and components, you use an awful lot of those, and you will definitely want to get as many of them as you can. Conductive ceramics and conductive components you'll find in conflict zones. Conductive polymers though, no, you don't get those from there. Yeah, you do need to go after haulage vessels. So you can hang around nav beacons, ideally compromised nav beacons, and any wanted haulage ships show up, blow the fuck out of them and hope that they drop some conductive polymers. Now as far as the rest go, capacitors, grid resistors, hybrid capacitors, electrochemical arrays, polymer capacitors. You again will use a huge amount of those, and they are also conflict zones. You're not going to get them anywhere else. So it's almost sort of like forcing your arm. If if you're planning on doing like major upgrades or major engineering mods to your ship or your fleet, you're going to have to go to conflict zones at some point, unless you plan on doing a lot of trading. But the grade 5 is military supercapacitors. They are ridiculously rare. I have never in 6 years seen a ship that has dropped a military supercapacitor after being destroyed. Never seen it. Their signal sources are also very rare. So getting these is really tough. And believe it or not, they are not the rarest of them. But anyway, we'll come back to the rarest one in a sec. So with shielding, Imperial shielding for a grade 5 is actually relatively common. You go to just about any Imperial system that has like a half decent population, you'll find them. And if you want to, I would say don't bother trading down actually, because all of the shielding materials, they're all pretty common. You'll have no problems finding them. To a degree, it's the same with the composites. Compact composite, filament composite, high density composites, they're not difficult to find. Proprietary composites can be a bit of a pain in the ass to get, and core dynamic ones, they're the ones you have to be in a Federation system. Most of the time, if you find core dynamics composites, you will find, say, for example, 4 or 5 materials at a signal source. 2 of them will be core dynamics and 3 will be proprietary composites. If you're really unlucky, it will be 4 proprietary and just 1 core dynamics. The crystals, say exquisite focus crystals, you can get them from ships, but don't, target them specifically for that. Get them from mission rewards. The other 4, they are really easy to find. You got no problems getting those. With alloys, again, the first 4 are really easy. The grade 5 proto-radiolic, they're not terribly difficult to find. They're not hugely rare. So, you shouldn't have too much problems there. Right, if we go back, right, mechanical components. These are others where grade 1, 2 and 3, conflict zones again. Configurable components, I can't for the life of me remember where you get those from. I think it's haulage vessels again. And the grade 5, improvised components, these are the rarest ones in the game. I haven't found any in at least 8 months. Yeah, all I can say is good luck. Use a trader. Just, don't waste your time trying to use a trader. Right, the conductors we did. The heat ones, these are a bit weird. You can find them in conflict zones. You can also find them in any other combat, sort of area, but they're not hugely common. Even the crappy grade 1s. So they can be a bit of a pain in the arse. On the plus side, the grade 5 proto-heat radiators, they're second only to Imperial shielding in terms of how easy it is to find them. By grade 5 standards, they are really easy to get, so you got no worries there. With the alloys, they're not that difficult to find. And even the military grade alloys, they can be a bit of a pain in the arse because you will more often than not pick them up because you're looking for something else. So they can get a bit annoying in that regards, but they're not that difficult. And then finally with the chemical ones, again, you can get these anywhere. They're not that hard to find from the grade 1s to the grade 4s. The grade 5, the pharmaceutical isolators, they're the 3rd rarest one in the game. I've had plenty of occasions where destroying anacondas has resulted in them dropping 1 and occasionally 2. So, it's not like the place is swarming with them, but they're not that bad. Now the other thing is, if you're looking for the grade 5 materials and you're looking for them in a signal source, if we go to let's bring one up. Where's the next fucking Alright, improvised components. And you look at the description here, specialised component used by factions in times of civil unrest, known to be salvaged from signal sources. So you will need to go to a system where its current state is civil unrest and look in there for them. And if we carry on going to military grade alloys, this one here, advanced component used by factions in times of war. So you'll need to go to a system whose state is currently at war for military grade alloys. The same also applies with military supercapacitors. You're going there at if a system is in a state of war. And these are ones that I was referring to when I was saying about the military grade alloys. You usually pick them up hoping to find something else. Yeah, you're trying to find these fucking things and you keep finding military grade alloys. So, and there are plenty of pretty good engineering mods that use military supercapacitors. So they are ones that you will want to get. And then with the pharmaceutical isolators, specialist component developed during times of outbreak. So you want to go to a system which is in the current state of outbreak and check around there. And then with proto-heat radiators, again, specialist component developed during economic boom. So you want to go to a system that is currently in a state of boom. That also applies to proto-radiolic alloys. There you go. Specialist component developed during economic boom. So yeah, the system state will determine which grade 5s you will find there. At least that was the case. We're actually going to finally launch. This system we're in is currently in a state of war. So what we'll do is we'll see if we can find, there you go, see we've got conflict zones. So yeah, there's a state of war in this system. So we'll launch and we'll see if we can find any of the specific signal sources that we'll get some grade 5s from.
Scan detected. Frameshift drive charging.
Fuck off.
Way ahead is clear. Have a safe flight, Commander.
4, 3, 2, 1. Engage.
Right, so we're now in the Super Cruise. So now we can slow down and use the old FSS scanner. Now we want to go right the way down to there, to the low signal sources. Obviously you can see if there are going to be any because you've got the bar there showing you that there are some. And you just scan them all. If you want to save time, you can go to the nav beacon here. You scan the nav beacon, and it will show you where they all are and what they all are. And what we are specifically after is one of these high grade emissions. That is where you will find the grade 5s. Now things like degraded signal sources, which you saw, and encoded signal sources, you can actually get encoded materials from encoded signal sources. You're not going to get it every time, but you can get them from there. Degraded, you used to be able to find some fairly low value materials from there, so they were okay. But that has changed, and I don't know how useful they are now. But it's probably worth checking them out. Combat Aftermath, that's another one that's worth going to. Now actually, if we just stop So you look up at the top right, and it's showing the faction, the states, and the time. Time is self-explanatory. That's how long you've got before the signal disappears. But the other two things are, if anything, more important. The faction, Independent CK Aeritis Green Party, and you look at its state, none. Well, that means that this signal source effectively is owned by that faction, and that faction has no state. This is not one of the factions that's at war. So the materials that can only be found in systems in a state of war, we can straight away rule them out, because it's showing state none. If that, where it said states, if it said war, we got a good chance. But again, there's a caveat there. It used to mean that. We'll see if this serves as a demonstration. So, I mean, we're in a Federation system. So I think the chances are it's going to be a combination of core dynamics composites and whatever the one below that was it proprietary composites, that's it. So it's probably going to be a combination of those. But yeah, if it showed as being in a state of war, you would be quite right to think, hey, there could be military grade alloys there, or even military supercapacitors, so I'll definitely check them out. So you would be flying out there towards it. I'll slow down extremely early, but so yeah, why the fuck did I slow down so early? Oh well, I'll slow down now anyway. Now really, if you harbour any sort of like hopes of finding grade 5 materials, then unless you're prepared to trade a shitload of grade 4, 3, 2 or 1s, in fact you can't trade grade 1s for a grade 5, but unless you're prepared to trade a shitload of lesser materials, this really is the only way you're going to get them in decent quantities. Yeah, destroying wanted anacondas and type 10s and any of the big four, there's a chance they'll drop them, but yeah, even if they do, you're only going to get like 1 or 2 of them. You won't get them in decent amounts. So here we are in amongst this little bit of wreckage, and what have we got? Right, so 1 proprietary composite, 2 core dynamics. That's actually not a bad ratio for these sort of federal grade 5s. So there you go. So if you pick them up, that's 6 core dynamic composites added to your inventory, 3 proprietary composites. So actually, that's not too bad. 3, finding a signal source with 3 materials in, that's not so great. You can have anywhere between 2 and 6. So 3 is not a great result. But yeah, it could be worse. Could have only had 2 there. Alright, so let's take another look and see what else is around here. See if there are any more high grade ones. Especially if there's any high grade with the war state attached to them. High grade ones do tend to be a fair old distance away from wherever you are. So that one that we just checked out, that was 2,000 odd away, that's actually quite close. Reference fire, it's no good to me. High grade, again, the states is saying none. So, well, we know it's there anyway. take a look at this one. There's still some signals around. There's another high grade, and again saying none. That's annoying. So those other two high grade ones are likely to contain the core dynamics composites and the proprietary composites in them. Now, like I've been hinting, this whole business of if you go to a system that's in a state of war, you find a signal and its state comes up as a state of war, and you're thinking, right, that means we're going to be getting military supercapacitors or military grade alloys. No. It used to be the case, and that is supposed to be what happens. It doesn't. I have long since lost count of the fact or the number of times that I've gone to, you know, one of those war ones, or a lot of the time it was when I went to outbreak ones and the state was showing us outbreak. I got there, entered the signal, and what are you finding there? Proto-heat radiators or proto-radiolic alloys, which are supposed to be at boom signals, not war or outbreak or civil unrest, and yet they keep cropping up. So it really is a case of blind fucking luck if the signal source actually has what you're expecting. Now that doesn't mean just ignore them. If you go, you know, if you're looking for pharmaceutical isolators and you find a signal source that has an outbreak state, it does increase its chance of being one, but a lot of the time, yeah, it's not going to be. Now there is also a way of further increasing your chances of finding a signal source with the right material that you want, and that is to basically completely eliminate the risk, if you call it risk, of say you're in a Federation system here and you want to make sure, I don't want core dynamics composites, so of course don't go to a Federation system. So if you go to an Imperial system, well, you might get Imperial shielding. In fact, more often than not, you will get Imperial shielding, and you don't want those either. So how do you ensure that? Well, you could go to an independent system, but there you've got to be sure that all of the minor factions are independent. So let's have a look here. Independent, Federation. So there could well be core dynamics composites here, because there's 2, maybe 3 Federation systems here. So yeah, the chance is still there. So how about getting rid of it completely? Because I said, yeah, there are systems, you know, there are Federation systems, there's that Federation specific material. Imperial systems, there's an Imperial specific material. I didn't mention the Alliance, because there isn't one. So if you want to go after, let's have a look, bring up state, and let's just have, right, so war, though you could have the 2 military ones. Civil unrest, if you're looking for improvised components. Civil war actually is treated the same as war, so you can go to a civil war one and look for the military supercapacitors or military grade alloys. Okay, boom, right, if you want proto-radiolic alloys or proto-heat radiators. there, get rid of those two, and then outbreak if you want pharmaceutical isolators, and the rest don't have one attached to them. So now we've got far fewer systems here. So we look at this one, we knew it was an alliance one because yeah, we're now well into alliance space. And if we look at the factions, right, alliance, 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 independent, alliance, alliance. No federation, no imperial. So here you know at least that if there are any high grade signal sources, they are not going to have core dynamics composites, they are not going to have imperial shielding. So you further improve your chances of finding the one that you particularly want. And since this is a war one, we would be coming here looking for, oh no, it's an outbreak one, sorry. So we would be coming here looking for pharmaceutical isolators. So if we find a signal source, the chances are that much better that it will actually contain pharmaceutical isolators. I can tell you now the chances are it won't. It will probably have protoheat radiators and protolite alloys, but you've got a better chance of it having, you know, the pharmaceutical isolators. Really, your best chance of getting, let's head back to the dock and bring up the where the fuck is the docking station that I launched from? I'll tell you what, let's find it this way. Yeah. Really, your best chance of getting the materials that you want is to just grab any grade 5 you can, any that you come across, and if need be, trade it. Because trying to find pharmaceutical isolators, military supercapacitors, and worst of all, improvised components is just an exercise in absolute frustration. It's fucking unbearable. Or you could grab, you know, a hell of a lot of grade 4s and trade up to, you know, the grade 5. The good news is you only, if you're trading a grade 4 up to a grade 5, yeah, you need 6 of them. So all you got to do is find, you know, like 2 samples of the particular grade 4, trade it up for a grade 5. It does make it quite slow, there's no denying it, but I can absolutely guarantee that you'll get more of those particular grade 5 manufacturers a lot faster than if you were to go around trying to find them in a system. And it's also far less frustrating. So that is manufactured materials, and to be honest, I've made it sound like it is a huge fucking ball ache. It's only the grade 5s that are a real ball ache, and even then it's only those select few. Some grade 5s say are fucking easy to find. So yeah, it's only those select few grade 5s that are a real pain in the arse to find. And the good news regarding that is that some of those grade 5s, they're only ever used in one thing anyway. And when we dock, I'll show you what they are.
Landing authorized. Clear to land on pad 08.
deployed.
Blocking bay access is a crime. Don't discrimination.
500 meters from touchdown.
Right. So let's bring up the old material trader. So the pharmaceutical isolators. We'll just go like the three rarest of the lot. They're only used in one thing. They are used in grade 5 dirty drive tuning for thrusters. Now granted, thruster engineering, just about everybody goes for dirty drive tuning because it improves your speed the most and therefore also improves your manoeuvrability the most. So everyone really piles in with those. But there are plenty of times when actually the clean drive tuning is the better option. Especially if you're building a smuggling ship or an AX ship.
Station operates under a
Um,
policy. Ensure you have authorized
so yeah,
protecting
they're fucking useful, but they are not vital. Not at all. So yeah, grade 5 dirty drive tuning for thrusters. That's the only time you use pharmaceutical isolators. Improvised components, the rarest of the lot. The real fucking ball ache to try and find. Well, the good news is they are only used in one thing. They are used in grade 5 reinforced modding for shield generators. Now, shield generator modding is very much a sort of like personal preference. So it's entirely possible that you are going to use reinforced shield mods, you know, a hell of a lot. Personally, I don't. The only time I use them is in AX ships. The rest of the time, no. So I don't need as many improvised components as some players do. Jimbo76, who you've seen me winged up, he always does reinforced shield generators. So he's always going to need these if he, when it comes to doing grade 5. And then the third one, this is where the news is not so great. Military supercapacitors. These are used in a fair few. They're used in at least 2 different distributor engineering mods. But thankfully not the one that I think is the most useful, not the one I use. So yeah, I don't use them for it. I can't remember what 2 they are used in. But also, if you are doing the high capacity, high ammo modding on any of your ammo based weapons, they're used in the grade 5 of those. That's where most of mine go. So yeah, not just one for them. Imperial shielding, so that is quite common for a grade 5. That's only used in one thing. It's used in grade 5 shield booster engineering. I think it's for the resistance augmented one. It's either that or heavy duty, but I'm pretty sure it's the resistance augmented. And that's the only time you use them. So that plus the fact that they are so common means they're a good choice for ones to get in just to trade. So they have that going for them. So yeah, improvised components and pharmaceutical isolators are fucking pain in the ass to get, but unless you are doing just one very specific engineering mod, you don't need them anyway. So that's always something to keep in mind. Now, like I said, if you're having trouble getting the grade 5s, a great way of trading is to get the particular grade 4 and trade it up. So you can see here, if I wanted pharmaceutical isolators, then yeah, I'd have to trade 6 of the chemical manipulators and I'll get 1 pharmaceutical isolator. So it would be handy if, getting chemical manipulators is actually quite easy. Well, some good news there. They are quite easy. Improvised components. Again, you could trade 6 configurable components for 1 improvised component. So it would be quite handy if configurable components were quite easy to get. Again, they are. Military supercapacitors, trade up 6 polymer capacitors for 1 military supercapacitor. So it'd be really handy if they were easy to get. They are. So where do you get all of these really easy grade 5s or grade 4s, which you can then trade up for the specific grade 5? Well, to do that, we need to go all the way back to Dab's Hope again. So let's go and do that. Ah yes, we are back at Dab's Hope. So yeah, as well as all the other methods that I've shown you about getting manufactured materials, there is one that plenty of players absolutely swear by. And to be honest, I think I mentioned it before when we were approaching here, a lot of people consider it to be an exploit. It's not. If it's an exploit, you'd be taking advantage of a bug. Nothing here is bugged. It's all coded. You are playing the game as is. So there's nothing wrong with doing it this way. It is a bit of a I can't be bothered sort of method. So what we'll do, we'll get out and we'll head over to Dab's Hope. So this is the abandoned mining base. We've got the old cargo scoop open, and there are no fewer than 10 manufactured materials available to you here, and they're going to be completely randomized. Because I think it goes up to as many as 30, it may even be 35 different materials that can spawn here. Their grades go anywhere from grade 1 up to grade 4. If there's only one grade 4 here, you're unlucky. A lot of the time you'll get 2, even 3 grade 4s here, so it's certainly worth doing. You do not get any grade 5s, simple as that. So you can't just come here and say, right, I'll get everything here. No, you won't get any grade 5s, and there are some materials that just do not appear here at all. I'll leave you to discover which ones they are that do not show. So first thing I'll also mention, when we first arrived here, while we were covering the encoded materials, I was saying, yeah, there are comms stations here. That is one. You scan that with your data link scanner, and it gives you one of the logs that tells you what happened at this place. There are 4 in total. Scan all 4, and you get to hear the story. I'm pretty sure they all have audio logs with it, so you can hear it as well as read it. Anyway, so we've come through the main entrance. I always land around here because this way it's easy for me to know where to go. So we come through the main entrance, you scan the data point there, which I've already done. So once you come through, we're heading in this direction and we get our first material, high density composites. Now I'm maxed out on everything here, so I can't pick any of it up, but I can show you where they are. Here's the next one, chemical processes. Like I say, they're not going to be these same materials every time, they are completely randomised. Next one's here, heat exchangers. Right next to it is the next one, mechanical components. That's a particularly sought after one, you go through an awful lot of those. So we carry on going. There should be another one here. It looks like it may have rolled away. No, that's a settlement log. It's rolled away this way. Okay, no. Okay, well there should be another one here and it's not showing for some reason. Then we have two here, flawed focus crystals, polymer capacitors. They are very sought after, you definitely want to grab those. High density composites, right there. Keep on going. Next one, chemical manipulators, another grade 4. And then the final one there, heat dispersion plate. So what I then do, we stop here, and then you just exit, and then we reload the instance. And now it's all been randomised again, it's all been changed. So what we can do is again target the data point, which yeah, like I say, it's been reset, so we can scan that again. So again, if you're after encoded, you'll get some more there, and you'll also get more in the old data point there. So now I've got a second one for the Alliance. One thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about the encoders, for some reason I got distracted. These things. This one, as I say, this one is showing as a public one. You've got no problem scanning those. But a lot of them will come up as private. Now if you scan those, yes, you will get your encoding materials. You will not get a data point you know, credit bonus. What you will get instead is either a fine or a bounty. I suspect it's actually a bounty you will get, and you will be wanted in that system because you have effectively hacked a private network. So, you know, if you don't care about that, or you think, yeah, I fancy a challenge, I'll take it on, then, you know, go for it. I mean, I've done it fucking plenty of times. But if you want to play it safe, then once you've targeted a data point, if it comes up private, leave it alone. So anyway, let's do one more lap of Dab's Hope then, see what we've got there here this time. So that is high density composites. Next lot, chemical manipulators, so we've already got the first grade 4. Crystal shards, grade 1, but they are certainly worthwhile. More high grade composites. Here's the one that was missing from last time, conductive polymers at the grade 4. So yeah, worth having. Come around here, right, so chemical distillery, conductive components, mechanical equipment, drive over them. If you've got your cargo scoot deployed and you're not maxed out, you'll pick them up. Shielding sensors, and finally mechanical scrap. So it's 10 materials, so of course that will increase your account by 30. And that's it. You just do as many laps as you want until you're either maxed or you're bored or your SRV is very low on fuel. You don't want to let your SRV run out of fuel, because when it does, it explodes, which is a bit of a drastic way of telling you that you should have refueled, but nevertheless that's what happens. So yeah, so that is Dav's Hope. So plenty of players swear by it. It's great when you are just starting out and you can basically pick up everything here. I hate the place, and the reason I hate it here is because a lot of time I came here and I only needed like 1 or 2 materials. I was maxed out on all the rest, so there was only 2 material types. And I'm doing lap after lap after lap after lap, constantly resetting it and never finding any of the fucking types, you know, the materials that I needed. Then it starts getting frustrating, and you get sick of the sight of it. So yeah, I don't recommend using it then. But if you're starting out and you know you haven't got much in the way of materials, or you know you haven't got any, this is a fucking godsend. Right, so that's Dav's Hope. Let's go back to the yeah, let's go back to the docking station. Yeah, I did say docking station, didn't I? But I ended up coming back to the carrier. But there we are. That is then the guide to gathering encoded and manufactured materials. I think you can perhaps see now why it took so long for me to do it. I wasn't really all that keen on doing a video that consists mostly of me just waffling away and not actually showing an awful lot of gameplay. But with these two, there's not an awful lot to show. But here's the bottom line. The vast majority of the time when you are gathering either encoded or manufactured, you haven't got to go out of your way and do anything different to what you've been doing normally. 50% of the encoded materials are gathered just by doing a basic scan. So whether you're in like regular flight or super cruise, just do a basic scan of every ship you encounter and bosh, it's, you know, sorted. As far as the other 50% goes, it's really easier to just go to the Jameson Cobra crash site, max out on at least those 2 encryptors, and trade them in. Trade them for what you really need. If you're trading down to, you know, grade 4s, 3s, 2s, 1s, you will get plenty of them. And it doesn't take you very long to go back to Jameson Cobra and then just, you know, max out on the encryptors again. So yeah, that's no problem. And then with the manufactured materials, again, just about all of them can be got through combat. So again, just do your usual thing. Go after, you know, wanted ships, or defend yourself from pirates or whatever. Destroy the ship. They dropped a load of manufactured, materials. And just go back there and scoop them all up. Or use collector limpets if you really must. Only when you're going after grade 5s do you really need to do anything that's approaching going out of your way. Just check out the high grade signal sources. With those really, the 3 really rare grade 5s, just go dabs hope and then trade your grade 4s up. Because trying to find those 3 particularly rare ones is an exercise in, say, absolute frustration. It's fucking awful. And it doesn't help that even though it says in the descriptions, oh, these will be found at signal sources in, outbreak or civil unrest or, what was the third one? War. No, a lot of the time you'll go there, you'll find a signal source, enter it, and it'll be something totally different. So yeah, just use the trader. And yeah, that is about it for manufactured and encoded materials. Now, as far as the next part, a thought has just occurred to me, because the next part was going to be, now that you've got all these materials, how do you actually use them? But then I thought, one of the uses will also require guardian materials. So yeah, it could end up going into 4 parts, this guide. So depending on how I feel, the next part will either be getting materials from guardian sites, or what do you do with the materials once you've got them all. I suspect it will be the guardian sites, because we may as well, if we're talking about gathering the materials, we may as well gather, show you how to gather the lot of them. And yeah, and with Thargood ones, I have already shown that. I've shown you how to get the materials, or manufactured ones and the encoded ones. So yeah, it's only the guardian ones I really need to do. So I think that's what will be next. So part 3, guardian sites and getting the materials from there. And then part 4 will be, now you've got all these materials, how do you use the things? And yeah, if you are quite the newcomer, you may well be thinking, it just looks like, a lot of hassle. Is it really worth doing? Well, hopefully when part 4 comes along, it will reveal, yes, it is absolutely worth doing, because the difference it makes to your ships is immense. So yeah, you definitely want to be giving it a try. And like I say, the majority of the time you're not having to go out your way. It's not, you don't have to set aside, time, or I've got to go after materials and do nothing but go after materials. At no point do you really need to do that. So Dab's Hope and the Jameson Cobra crash site are about the only times when you're really going out of your way to go after materials. The rest of the time you're just playing the game as normal. So that is it. That is then your guide to gathering encoded and manufactured materials. I am absolutely well aware of the fact that this was about as exciting as watching paint dry, but it needed to be done. The guide, needed to be complete. And I, for one, am rather glad to have got this part over and done with. So there we go, that's that one done. Part 3, Guardian sites, will follow along when I can be asked to do it. So, maybe you'll see that in a couple of years' time or so. Alright, now go away.